Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to MCubed. We've got Cinema Scoop going again. And this time, not only do we just have Jay, Sidetrack over here, but we've got our buddy Greg back. Greg Crafts. Well, you are a theater owner, a playwright, a writer in general, an actor, a director, a producer, and many, many other things.
No, none of those things. Oh, you're not talking about me. Oh, sorry. I was just saying, you said like good-looking guy. I'm like, but no, okay. So all those things, yeah, okay, fine.
We got hair. What? I'm kidding, huh?
I'm going.
Piss him off real quick.
Yeah.
Howdy, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Great to see you again, Greg, as always.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. So,
well, another thing that you are an expert on, or at least a member of, and I like to say you're an expert on because you got your finger on the pulse for it, is SAG stuff, WGA stuff as well, but SAG stuff particularly at the moment. SAG is meeting again with AMPTP today.
Yep. They've been meeting off and on over the past couple of months. Lots happened since I was last here. Obviously, good God, when was I here last? This was July?
I think,
yeah,
July.
So SAG was on strike at that point. In the meantime, SAG and the SAG AFTRA and the AMPTP have had started negotiations a bunch of times. They've all broken off for various things. You can always talk about the he said, she said, and who shot who and the what now, and who walked out first, and who made the better offer, and all that bullshit. The one thing that you got to remember is that the trades are all owned by the studios. So oftentimes they are used as a mouthpiece and an extension, and they have, they're a giant media empire. Okay. And news networks too, honestly. So when we, there's a slogan that goes around the SAG AFTRA members is that it's not true unless you hear it directly from the union. And we try very hard to make sure that, the negotiating committee and the SAG AFTRA leadership tries really hard to keep us all informed and let us know as much of the straight deal as to what's going on as possible. And Duncan Crabtree Ireland, one of the members of the negotiating committee, did a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, also did a panel at New York Comic-Con recently talking about AI and the existential threat that it presents to actors in terms of career viability and stuff. And that was the one panel that I tried my best to get into that I showed up early for, and the line was so big I couldn't get in. That was like it was nuts. There was tons of performers, tons of people there, all very interested in learning more about this. So that was a bummer for me not being able to hear to hear this, but I think for my own depression's sake that it's much better that I didn't. But there's been lots of talk going on. The sticking points do seem to be AI and residuals from off of streaming. Those are the big. I mean, I think that yes,
it's the main one for sure.
Peter, I think AI absolutely is a crucial major issue. Let's not beat around the bush here. Being able to digitally replicate an actor, their voice, their likeness, everything, and have them do whatever you want, like a freaking meat puppet. That is. Yeah, that's terrible. Like we don't license our likenesses to be able to do that. And I know that folks like Disney and some of the other networks have been literally scanning and collecting people's likenesses just on set without talking about what it's going to be used for. And the people who've been getting scanned have only been getting paid half a day's background wages as a bump for that, which is, nothing. And so, that's one of the main things that we're trying to fight against is the unauthorized use of our likenesses to do things that we have no input on. Actors have a degree of input in the control over the roles that we take. It's required to let us know in breakdowns if a role has sex scenes, if it has nudity, if it has, same-sex activity, things that we may or may not be comfortable with. We know about what products it is that we're being submitted for. My wife, when she was with an agent, turned down an audition for a drug commercial because she's like, I don't like this company and I think they're unethical. So we have a degree of say. Now, when AI comes into play, we and they can just take our banked likeness and take our voice and everything. Suddenly, you've got me shilling for oh my God, who's somebody I loathe completely? You got me shilling for the Koch brothers, or you got me shilling for the TK or something like that. It's like that's
Was it Tom Hanks about a month ago?
Oh, Tom Hanks.
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that we're seeing more and more of that, where actors are hearing their voices and seeing their likenesses used in things, and it's not them, and they're not authorizing it, and it's a big deal, because this is the product for us. So this is literally stealing our product. So AI is a tremendous issue and a huge threat. I'll get into a story in a minute about one of the most sobering things I heard recently about how far AI has come in such a short time. But I also want to say that the other big issue that is the sticking point right now, and these are the two big things that they're trying to negotiate. They restarted negotiations yesterday after a whole ton of pressure from the other unions and from a bunch of A-listers. They restarted negotiations yesterday. We've been hitting the lines hard and getting out there and trying to get put as much pressure on the situation as possible. But the other big thing is residuals. And they talked about how one of the things that they could do is levy a fee per subscriber on these streaming models. And that, according to Ted Sarandos, that was an absolute not deal breaker, and he walked out and ended the last round of negotiations over this. Apparently, this has been a proposal that's been DOA since before the strike even began, and it keeps getting brought up every once in a while. And but it seems like that's what they're going for. Now, residuals are incredibly important, because it used to be that when you'd have residuals, you would have a certain amount of money coming in from a rerun of every show, and it would diminish over about 10 years until you get to the point where you're getting those 57-cent, 5-cent, 2-cent, negative 10-cent checks. Okay. And how the hell the negative 10-cent checks work, I don't know. It's like you owe them postage at that point. It shows up postage due? I don't know. But the back during the last strike and in the negotiations since then, one of the big sticking points was residuals, because the traditional residual model only applied to broadcast television and to films and known media as established. Now, we're watching TV shows, we're watching films, but if you're watching it on Paramount Plus versus Paramount Network on cable, it's a completely different broadcast, and it's a completely different environment according to contracts. It's all legalese bullshit, but that's how they delineate it. You're not watching a film or a video. You're watching a stream, which is considered to be different and legally distinct, even if it is the same basic thing. Now, that legalese has been used to say that, well, the old streaming model or the old residual model doesn't apply. And when the last strike happened, the networks were like, we're pleading poverty. This is an unproven thing. This is an unproven business model. We don't think this is going to make us any money. We're going broke, you evil actors. We can't pay you what you're demanding because you're going to force us all into the poorhouse. And the unions at the time, 10 years ago and more, basically said, okay, the actors will bear the cost, or basically, bear the cost of this, and we'll take a reduced cut, but this is going to get revisited. And now they're like, okay, it's 10, 15 years later. They're like, streaming's proven. You guys are making money hand over fist. All of your quarterly earnings report calls are talking about your record profits. You're literally pulling in billions of dollars. Motherfucker, the bill has come due, and they're not even asking for back pay. They're not even asking for, for money that should have been paid out over those 10 years. They're talking about just going forward. They want to start with 2% and then scale it back to 1% over the next 3 years, and probably repeat that in the cycle. And that's incredibly important, because right now we've gone from acting has always been a gig thing. It has, but residuals used to pay out enough where an actor could survive and practice their craft and afford to keep their skills sharp and afford to keep their marketing up and everything between gigs for up to a year or two at a time. Like, you'd get one job, like one guest star or a commercial, and you could survive for a year or two. Hell, I know people with commercials who bought houses. And now this is also before houses blew the hell up and real estate became the nightmare that it is. You know, back when housing was actually reasonably affordable. But it, you know, 10, 15 years ago, when streaming came in, we really saw the nail in the coffin for what we call the middle class actor. Okay, people who book the occasional gigs, who aren't series regulars, who aren't movie stars, who, but you know, who book enough that they could string together a couple of gigs a year and afford to not have a day job, or, you know, unless they wanted one, and afford the insurance, you know. And those are like the two big things, is to be able to have all your bills covered and have your union insurance, and, you know, be able to live comfortably. That was the middle class actor. They weren't an A-list star, but they worked often enough. You'd see their faces often enough that with the residuals, they could survive as an actor. And then you had all the journeymen. You had the background. You had everybody else working for scale and working their way up. And even then, you know, relatively speaking, working for scale was decent enough that you could you know, you could survive for a couple of weeks, maybe a month. Nowadays in this economy, that's not the case anymore. And with the way streaming has gone, and with the way, honestly, the film industry has gone, a lot of film actors have gone to doing TV, which means that they're getting the biggest paychecks out of everybody. There's no money for a middle class actor anymore. So you're either working for a star rate that's negotiated, or you're working for scale, because there's no budget for anything else. There is no middle class actor anymore. So the big sticking point is that the unions are trying to get back and carve back out that middle class actor level of pay, and do this through residuals. And the studios are like, fuck you, no, you don't deserve that, you know. And we're like, well, we're your product, you know. And and here's the other thing, they're full of shit. Like, ultimately, the studios here are full of shit, because they just gave the WGA everything they wanted and resolved their strike at after 148 days. They resolved the WGA strike, basically caving and giving them everything. Now, the actors got really cocky. We thought, oh shit, by this time, you know, I was at some of the celebration parties for the WGA. People, you know, like literally the Sunday night that they announced that they had a deal, I tried to go down and get into Idle Hour, which is a bar here in NoHo that like everybody knows. And the line was down the block and around the corner. It was insanity. I couldn't get in, but I ran into my friends coming out of there after standing around waiting for about 45 minutes. And I gave them big hugs and congratulated them. And, you know, I heard some of the speakers from outside and stuff. And it, you know, the feeling was that, okay, they caved on the WGA. We're next. They can't do shit without us. And now, really, the petty gamesmanship has been ratcheted up to the point where they restarted negotiations, made a bullshit offer, and then walked out. They said, "Oh, you're not going to take this," which was like the worst deal that they had offered since negotiations had began. Cool, fuck you, we're out. And the AMPTP tried to spin it as, oh, the actors are being unreasonable and selfish. We tried to give them exactly what they wanted, and it wasn't at all what that wasn't at all earnest. Which is why don't believe anything the networks and the trades and everybody that's owned by the studios tell you. They're just an extension and a mouthpiece of the PR arm, you know. So yeah, they broke off, waited a couple of weeks. Now they're back in and negotiating again. They started yesterday. They're back meeting today. It's very tense. It's very, you know, according to the reports that I'm reading, they're very far apart on the AI, and they're very, very far apart on the residuals, especially the per subscriber tariff, as they call it, 57 cents per subscriber. And I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. I'm not certain how that would work, but I do know that if anything, the streamers, specifically Netflix, and you know, they're very, very, very skittish about giving out actual subscriber and viewer information. They don't want that info getting out, because, you know, then they could talk out of both sides of their mouths if you don't know what the actual numbers are. They can tell the investors and everybody that, oh my God, no, subscriptions have never been better, viewership has never been better. And then they could turn around to the unions and go, oh my God, we're so broke, nobody's watching, nobody's subscribing. You know, and without transparency in the data, they can claim whatever they want and nobody can verify it.
A big thing with Netflix is claiming almost that everything that they produce themselves is a massive hit, when very occasionally it's not.
Yeah, and they'll claim it's a massive hit. Well, but that's the thing, is that they'll claim it's a massive hit to anybody that matters. And then they've actually gone back to the writers, and they've gone back to the, thank you, Laura, appreciate you, solidarity forever. They go back to the actors and the writers, and they go, nobody's watching this shit, we're canceling it, and nobody can verify that. And that's another thing that the writers were trying to fight against, was like this whole gig economy mentality. They want a little bit more stability. They want more writers. They want longer seasons. They want bigger commitments. So does that mean fewer shows are going to be produced going forward? Yeah. Are we coming out of this golden age of television? Probably. But hopefully it'll be a real golden age for labor, where things are more fair and more, like, it's not so much just throwing spaghetti against the wall. Let's people, I think, are going to focus on trying to make the best products possible. And they talk about how it's been a golden age for actors and opportunities and so many shows and all this shit. And I'm like, I need better reps or something, because I haven't gotten a single damn audition, since when all this started. But I've also been focusing mostly on theater. I am working on getting back into, focusing on getting the TV career going again. That is my end game goal. But yeah, it's, I'm hoping that this is going to be a tipping point, or the point where everything has swung so far in favor of the corporations that we're going to start seeing it swing back the other direction now. Because if the WGA shows you anything, it's when labor stands up and unites and works in solidarity and doesn't work against itself, doesn't allow itself to get split up. We make the product that makes them money. We are the product that makes them money. And if we say, no, we want a fair cut, and we all hold our ground, they have to listen, So this works. And I think that scares the shit out of everybody, especially Amazon, because they got their own union problems coming into this, and from every other division of the company. Yeah. But unions work. They're not perfect. They're not, they're run by people just like the corporations are. So there's problems, there's corruption, there's all kinds of stuff. There is no perfectly, perfectly good solution, but right now you see organized labor in action, and you see them having important victories. And that, I think, especially in like this, I don't know if you want to call it end stage capitalism or whatever, but in the state that we're in right now, it's welcome to see that the fact that the little guys can band together, stand up, and be like, hey, you got to treat us like people. And I think that's incredibly important. And I'm so happy to see it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who has gone out and supported the entertainment fund, who have been giving money and donating and supporting and fundraising for the funds that help keep folks who have been affected by the strikes in their houses. And also, we've had people screaming at people on the picket line, throwing batteries from cars and shit like that. Y'all can go fuck yourselves for those people, So if you're shitting on a picket line, if you're crossing a picket line, if you're scabbing, fuck you. We will find you. We know who you are. And you're a terrible person. Shame on you. So yeah, so sometimes you just gotta say the unspoken, So yeah.
That was a good Ron Perlman, little Liam Neeson taken right there.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, no, I loved Ron Perlman. If Ron Perlman recorded something about what he did about Iger, I'd be like, nope, I'm just gonna go kill myself. Like I'm gonna save him the trouble, because I know that I'm not making it 10 feet. Yeah.
So that kind of makes me think real quick. So I think transparency is one of the biggest issues in Hollywood in general.
100%.
Has been for a long time. Yeah. But that is like the I think epitome of why I think streaming has, I guess, been successful, but also screwed everybody over and taken the middle class out of acting. Do you think with, I guess, the streaming kind of way, kind of taking a backside, and all these different streamers having to incorporate ads back into their systems, like Netflix ad tier is their largest tier now by far. Like 2/3 of people on Netflix use the ad tier now. So
yeah, it's basically become broadcast TV.
Do you think that will help bring that middle class back over the next couple of years?
Not unless the union forces it. Because here's the thing. The studios are under no obligation. They are under zero obligation to share any of that revenue with the actors besides what is delineated in the contracts. So they would just as happily, because here's the thing. Capitalism, the corporation's sole objective is to inflate the bottom line and make as much profit as possible. That is the only surviving way. And I mean, I'm a small business owner. Okay, let me be real here. I'm a small business owner. I like to think of myself as like an ethical capitalist. I pay my people when they come in and work with me. I'm paying them $25, $30 an hour. I'm making sure that they're taken care of. I make sure that their working conditions are good. I don't overschedule them. If I have to, if somebody has to cover something, I step up and do it, and I'm fine working the 20 something hours. You want to know why? Because my paycheck's the fattest out of the bunch. Like I know that I'm doing the work. I'm doing the work and I'm earning the pay. But I'm trying to make sure that the good people, the people that I bring in, are being taken care of, and that they are able to survive on the wages that they get. Because the other thing is that we work mostly with people on a project-to-project basis. I don't have employees outside of my wife and I. We're the only two people that actually
the gig industry.
Yes. But I'm trying to make sure that when people work with us, they're getting paid well, they're getting taken care of well, because I know that investing in them means they'll invest back in me. I mean, this is the symbiosis, but but in the modern economy, a corporation's sole objective is to make sure that they're making as much money as possible, get that biggest bottom line possible, increase value, increase because money begets money, because then you could take all the money that you earn off of something, put it into the magic money machine that's investments and other stuff and real estate and all that other shit, and get returns. And you're having all this money cycling about different ways. They call it Hollywood accounting out here when they talk about how they could take a movie that on paper has actually, grossed millions and millions and millions and billions of dollars, but ultimately it nets a loss. You can easily do that because they have all the different ways of just charging money back against themselves and moving it around, swirling it around, and proving that no, we didn't actually make a profit. We need a tax write-off. Thank you. And we are under no obligation to pay out certain things based on contracts for incentives for performance based and stuff like that. But in the trades, what are they going to talk about? How this movie grossed $400 billion.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why whenever you see a new movie or something, there's a new production company. And there's all these companies have there'll be a production company just for a movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, that's also just that's also legal liability. If something happens on that movie and people get sued, they can just dissolve that corporation and there's no target left.
It's like a guy around the corner who does building work and he does a crap job. And then all of a sudden his company goes bankrupt.
Yeah, and you get it, but he shows up 6 months later under a new name and office down the street from where he was before. I mean, there's
no liability.
Same belt.
Yeah, it's a lot of there's a lot of protections and stuff out there, but the obligation of the corporation is to the shareholders, not to the people who actually make this stuff. So when they're talking about the record profits, when they're putting the ad tier on, when they're making all that money from advertising and stuff like that, only what is negotiated by contract is what's paid to actors. They don't get this. They don't land these, massive numbers of subscribers and going, oh, everybody who helped get us here is getting a little piece of this. That's not how it works. So that's why these contract negotiations are so important. That's when we figure out what our cut's going to be. And it's our obligation for ourselves to advocate for ourselves and say, this is what we're worth. And if you're not willing to pay that, we're going to withhold our labor until you do, and they're talking about how, there was that article that went around when the writer's strike first started, and they said they're going to starve them out. They're going to wait for them to, be losing their houses, and then they'll sit back down at the table and negotiate. And they waited 4 months. Yeah. And, people absolutely were in trouble. People were in danger of losing their houses and losing their cars from car loans and everything else. Like, it's a big deal. Like, people put their livelihoods on the line.
I've got plenty of friends that are moving out now. I thought the last batch were moving out right before the strike started, and now as they're actually kind of like the fruition's here, I've got 3 or 4 friends that are either actively considering moving out or are planning their leases up in December, or their leases up in November.
And they're like, I can't afford to stay here anymore. Like, I'm in debt up to my eyeballs. Yeah, that's real. I mean, people's lives have been impacted. But I mean, the joke is that, I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's only because it's true. We already have been sustaining on so little. Like, it's the Bruce Banner line that that's my secret cap. I'm always broke. You can't fucking when we've got nothing left, you can't threaten us with nothing.
That's true.
So that's why, like, we're not going anywhere. Like, the number of people I know that are unemployed or working, gig economy or doing whatever else, who, their primary trade and craft is acting. they're out there on the line all day, every day, because they got nowhere else to be, you know, and they want to fight for a better future, you know. So it's frustrating that we have to do this, but this is the way business works, you know. And the thing is that corporations are incentivized to pay back shareholders and, you know, and pay back investors and give big dividends rather than focus on paying the people who actually make the products, because that's business. And I think the model sucks, and I understand it to a point. I'm no economist, you know, but I think the model sucks, and it's dehumanizing, because when you're devaluing the people who actually make your product and incentivizing other people who just have fuck you money to play around with, then there's something out of whack there, you know. But it's like at that point it becomes like crypto, you know. It's he who's got the money has the, you know, or the people who have the money and the influence are the ones who are only ones making the money, whereas the little guys who may not know as well are getting sucked into honeypots and losing their shirts, you know. So the game is rigged, and the unions are just trying to stand together to tilt the table back in our favor a little bit. And I am hoping that I've been growing this strike beard since SAG went on strike. I suck at growing beards. Let me tell you, this is not a pretty sight here. This is it's patchy, and it's, you know,
it's becoming glorious.
I'm trying. My wife hates it. She's like, please, you know, she's going to call up Carol Lombardini here in a minute and be like, bitch, you fucking cut a deal, because I got to get this tribble off my husband's face, you know, like. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping is that Jen, who is one of the most wonderful women in the world, but she could be scary. I'm hoping she's going to go full blown Sicilian on the AMPTP and force a deal here and be like, I'm going to make them an offer they can't refuse, you know. So, well,
when it happens, I mean, I just saw Killers of the Flower Moon the other day, so it's kind of fresh on the mind. We need a good Western kind of type scene from you and Jen, and then Jen can come in there with one of those little straight razors, and we just need you taking off the strike beard and make a little video out of it.
Yeah.
It'd be perfect.
I love it. All right. Well,
but just on the thought of big business and stuff, Jamie was making a couple of videos on Sidetrack this past week, or maybe just one, but the AMTP, of course, started this meeting again, and they try to get things going again, and Iger and Sarandos, particularly Sarandos, with that 2% to the 1%, was like, I'm out.
Yep.
What do you, I guess, think about that just generally? And do you like that the other studios were like, screw y'all, we're forcing y'all's hands, and we're going to go meet with them again? Do you like that they did that? Is that kind of
I think it's a good, well, I mean,
light at the end of the tunnel?
Yes. What you want to do is hold out. It's classical warfare. What's happening here? It's siege warfare. And you want your enemy, you want to break their will and force them to break ranks. And we got a little. I thought we got a nice little chunk of daylight when we saw AMC cut an interim deal. Which, by the way, the interim deal that they cut, they call it an interim deal. It's not an interim deal. It's the deal with everything that SAG was asking for. Like literally everything SAG AFTRA was asking for. It was the residual payments. It was the AI protections. It was everything. AMC took that deal. The Walking Dead and all of their shows are already back in production. They were the only shows showing. They were the only network with anything to say at New York Comic Con recently, and that was kind of like chilling. But at the same time, they're like, "Fuck yeah, we got content," and they're kind of taking advantage of being the only ones on the market right now. It's good when we see them squabbling amongst themselves. It's good, you know, we might see what we saw happen, a couple of strikes ago, where they'll start peeling off and individually negotiating. And that would be great. Sarandos is, from what I understand, and granted, I am not in the room. I'm just hearing the rumor mill just like everybody else. But we all hear things. And based on what I have heard, Netflix and Sarandos have been the sticking points, because their business model is different. And they're also like, we've got content from around the world where our library is not going to run out for a generation. We can hold out. We're not paying this bullshit. And everybody else is being held hostage by this. There's actually been talk of, you know, I'd heard at one point that there had been talk of breaking Netflix and Amazon off of the AMPTP and just going back to studios and streamers and streamers and having it be separate things, which, you know, I mean, has a certain amount of merit to it, because Amazon has so much other stuff propping up its Amazon Video, Amazon Prime Video. It's got so many other things propping it up. I mean, that's just an add-on for them. Same thing with Apple. you know, and then Netflix is the first and still the biggest dog in the yard. So yeah, they actually, it's funny you say that. They are trying to actually change it from AMPTP to AMPT, which I'm like,
I don't know if that's any less confusing, honestly.
Yeah.
It's sort of, but it's not less confusing. It's
yeah, it's not helping. So you know, but I don't, I guess they just don't like having the letter P in there twice or something. It's something completely arbitrary. I'm like, y'all got bigger things to worry about right now than floating that in a headline.
Yeah.
But I think that got stuck out there as a way to show like, oh yeah, this is a big headline news thing right now because the AMPTP said so, you know, and just flexing on like, here's the influence that we've got. You know, we can force this bullshit headline through right now while other things are happening. So
while they're squabbling,
yeah,
just well, I mean, they're meeting as we're talking. So
yes, they are. They're meeting at SAG AFTRA headquarters on Wilshire right now. Yeah.
What is the likelihood that it ends today? What is the likelihood that it ends this week, or what's the likelihood that it ends this month? Do you have like just a little like?
Jesus, if I had that crystal ball, I mean, honestly, if this was 2 weeks ago, if this was 2-3 weeks ago, right when they started again, I would have said I would have been like 98% certain the deal's getting done and we're back. But there's a big part of this that feels punitive. There's a big part of this that feels like, you know, oh, you fuckers came out for the WGA, and then, you know, we're gonna make you suffer a little longer, because it's gonna take anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks for the writers to get the writers' room spun up and to get scripts done. They don't need the actors yet, but they're rapidly reaching the point now where I think it's been about a month. Yeah, it's been about a month almost since the WGA got their deal and ratified and went, and it's been 2 weeks since they went back to work, but it's been about a month since the deal got struck. They're rapidly reaching the point where they're going to have IATSE sitting on set waiting. They're going to have the writers with a whole bunch of scripts done. The directors, I mean, the Venn diagram between directors and studios is like, you know, almost a circle, I feel like, because as directors put it, they weren't concerned about AI. They were concerned about making sure directors had their parking spaces designated and their names on their spots. You know, it was a whole different set of concerns. And now I'm also hearing rumblings that when they saw what the WGA got and what SAG might be getting, the directors are like, wait, what? Why didn't we get that? You know, so there's a little grumbling about being the first to take a deal. You know, because the directors and the producers, as usual, were in and out in like 2 days.
Yeah.
You know, but they have, you know, it's a little different. I'm not going to criticize it. I have a lot of friends that work at the DGA. I'm not at all shitting on them. I just, you know, their priorities are different. I don't think they understand the existential threat that AI presents. And I'm going to tell you my Fallout story in just a moment. But I think right now we're not going to see a deal today. If nothing else, we're going to see them continue negotiations, and we might start hearing that they have found common ground on a few things. I think that if they're going to carve out a deal, if it looks like they're going to make the progress this week, if they don't get it done by Friday, they're going to negotiate into the weekend. We might see white smoke coming out of the Vatican by Sunday, like what they did with the WGA. That's a big if. I think it's going to take several days, especially because of just how contentious AI and these streaming things are. The rates are. But those sound like the two holdout issues, and out of the laundry list of shit that was needed to get covered, if those are the last two issues, we might be closer than we think, but they are also very big potential deal breakers. So do I think that it's going to happen this week? No, I think though that if we're talking getting into November, I think a deal is going to get done in November, because if nothing else, you're going to have the rest of the industry waiting on this, and the pressure is only going to increase. And I think that increased pressure only benefits SAG AFTRA. So it's really because here's the thing, AMPTP lost the war of public opinion a long. They lost it out the gate because nobody fucking likes billionaires. And when you've got, you know, guys, you know, when you've got these execs making 25 to 40 million a year, David Zaslav with his 250 million a year, you know, to ruin WB and HBO. I mean, like literally the guy has on his watch, both, you know, like the whole bed has been shit over there, you know. Not that, I mean, I had my own experiences working with WB when I was in product development or when I was with a toy company doing marketing. But I saw how the house was run over there. And I mean, it was fucked up before Zaslav
It's
even got in there.
messy for a long.
It's been messy for a long time, but I feel like it's only taken a nosedive. Like they've ruined the brand for HBO. They've ruined the brand for, the DCEU is a fucking mess, and I recognize that they brought in James Gunn to reboot it, but you got to have actors to do that at this point. Number one, number two, man, oh man, the latest couple of DC movies have just been a shit show. I feel so bad for the Blue Beetle guys.
Oh yeah,
but like the last, like the Flash was a mess. Everything with Ezra Miller, that whole thing, like, oh god, like
baby.
If you're a DC fan, I feel so bad for you. At least DC had the TV game on lock for the longest time with Arrowverse.
Oh, my childhood was perfect with all that. Like,
absolutely, they had that shit on lock, and they knew what they were doing then. Unfortunately, it didn't carry over into the movies. But I mean, apparently at one point they lost the master copy of Aquaman 2.
Yeah, apparently.
The new...
Yeah. The new Aquaman. Apparently they just lost the file at one point.
They found it again.
They found it.
I mean,
but, they were talking. They were wondering, like, but that was the rumor that was going around for a while when it was less than 2 months out from release date and there's no trailer.
Oh god.
And I mean, also the Amber Heard stuff and everything else, sure, but you're not withholding a multi-million-dollar. You're not withholding a tentpole picture because of problems with your star. They already proved that with Ezra, or one of your stars, and she's not even like the star of that one.
No, they just cut her part down apparently by
a lot.
Birds. Yeah.
Well, now it's just a buddy cop film between him and his brother Patrick Wilson. There we go.
Yeah.
Who is a terrible character.
Yeah.
I was talking about the negotiations and everything. Coming back to a guy that works over one of the agencies. And he was saying that 2 weeks ago, they genuinely thought this was going to be resolved because the studios thought basically WGA model, the actors will take that. And then they took that to the actors and the actors sort of went, that's not, we've got a different set of problems.
That was part of it. They took a lot of the ideas and everything. But what they don't talk about is the fact that they actually pushed the numbers back to less than what they offered before the strike. And then this way they could say that they were offering SAG AFTRA the same terms that they offered the WGA, and SAG AFTRA walked away. It was a bunch of bullshit posturing, and it's punishment. It's punishment for daring to strike. They don't, like the union's giving us the straight dope here, and it's like, yeah, they fucked the numbers, and they're trying to basically, they gave WGA everything they wanted, so they're trying to get us for peanuts now and use, morale, like the high and mighty browbeating to get us back. And no, we're going to take what's ours. We have to, because we literally have nothing left to stand on at this point. Like, it's existential for us at this point. It's this career field being a viable option for people. That is what's at stake here. And that's what needs to happen. So
I actually think the studios thought they were going to pull a fast one because there are more actors than there are writers.
Oh yeah. But we read the fine print.
Is significantly more. So I thought they were going to pull a fast one. They thought, well, the WGA have accepted this, so the actors will accept it, and we're gonna save a little bit money more than we thought. And because again, the studio's attitude, particularly apparently Disney's studio, I mean, Netflix has had this whole thing with the subscription fee. That's their big red line. Apparently, Disney's big thing is residuals, so their markets, and they really want the AI. They really want.
They really want the, because it was Marvel that was scanning people on set without
Marvel and Star Wars too.
Yeah, and so that's all Mouse House, absolutely. And I know that. I mean, I used to work for a company that did 3D scanning. I know they've got me in a database already, and Disney was one of the contractors. So like, I know I'm fucked.
Disney copyright and things they own is such a big thing. They're looking at. There's things that they've been doing for decades. They were like, if they could do AI, there are things they would love to be able to do. Just like they did with Star Wars, bringing back Peter Cushing and things like this. They would do that day in day out if they got half a chance. So
that's why they paid James Earl Jones $4 million for the rights to his voice for Darth Vader in perpetuity. Absolutely,
that was right after Bruce Willis kind of signed his rights over too, right?
Yeah, and God bless Bruce Willis. I hope he's he's not doing well from what I hear. That's a heartbreak. Yeah.
But so my understanding though is that a lot of the studios now, Warner Brothers in particular, they've got to the point where they're hemorrhaging money. Worse, apparently, they've got to restructure an element of their debt in the next couple of months, and they're sort of like, if the strikes are still going at that point, this is going to cost us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because
It's already cost
it's going to cost them more money to borrow the money, basically, because they've got to restructure about $6 billion worth of debt. Paramount will do the same next summer.
Yep, 100%. And that's the whole thing, is that but this is, the studios right now are like the little kids who are, who put their hands on the lit stove and it's hot and they're burning themselves, except instead of taking their hands off, they're grabbing it while trying to stare somebody in the face and stare them down, and they're just holding on to it and getting burned. This strike has already cost them more than what the deals would.
Yeah.
Okay. Over the strike in 104 days at this point has cost them more than what the deals would have cost them over 3 years.
Oh, the amount of films and TV shows that could have been filmed in this time. Insane.
Oh yeah, but I mean, just in terms, and it's also cost the California economy $6 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we feel it on a daily basis just walking around. Like
100%.
It's wild.
Like all the diners in Burbank and everything, where everybody from yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, indeed. Pour one out and F in the chat for Bruce. The restaurants, the cafes, the places where the people from the studios would go on their lunch breaks. I mean, this has things happen, like nothing's been more like of a visual representative to me than driving down Olive Avenue in Burbank, coming around the from gate 4 to gate 3 of Warner Brothers, and you'd see that gigantic like 2-story, 3-story poster frame on the side, the two post frames on the side of that building that you're looking at as you're driving down. And every time I drive there, Warner Brothers has the next big movie featured in those big poster frames. They've been empty for the past month and a half. Yeah. And they're just blank, and I feel like that's like, and that building now I think is empty because of costs. So I think they've scaled a lot of it back. There's no greater visual representation. So, this is a game of chicken, except the problem is that the studios have everything to lose because we had nothing to begin with. Yeah. So we can wait them out. We can and will wait them out. And at this point, I feel like they're waiting us out just out of spite, but I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we're going to see this resolved in the next couple of weeks. I really, I think that 2023 is going to be a loss, and we're going to feel the ripples of this go out for, like the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to see gaps in schedules. Things are going to be stretched real thin. But I also think that pilot season in January is going to be fucking lit. I think that once we get back, it's gonna they've got so much to make up for. They got so much ground to make up for. I think that there's going to be a huge boom, and I'm hoping I can personally ride that wave.
Well, you just made me think of something. We really haven't had a pilot season since streaming. Like,
because it's a rolling pilot season now. But I feel like January is going to be.
Is this going to be our first pilot season in a decade, in 7 or 8 years?
Probably. I mean, because let me tell you. The industry never really came back from holiday last year. Like I try to have coffee with my agent and my manager each at least once a month. I try to get over them. It turns out to be like every other month, but I try to get with them, or at least check in with them every couple of weeks and go ahead, take them for a coffee and just chat about everything. And I remember going in February and being like, it's quiet. What's going on? And they're like, well, it's the strike. And I'm like, what strike? This is February. What strike? Nobody's on strike. They're like, everybody knows that the WGA is going to go on strike. Everybody knows that SAG is going to go on strike. There has been no new production. There's been no movement on anything. And so, there's nothing started this year. The whole year has been a wash.
That's what we were saying about Stargate, that there was a rumor that they were going to announce it at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was telling people they decided in March it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I was at Comic-Con this year for, during it, and I was there as a fan. I was not there representing anything, not that I was working on anything, but I was also very careful to make sure that in my social media presence that I did not, share any brand images or anything like that. You got to be. I feel like that some of these extremes that the union's talking about, like no Halloween costumes representing struck properties and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, guys, this is a little much. Like,
Well,
you know, and they also said
regional industry that doesn't have anything to do with Hollywood. Technically, that's hurting
Yeah.
other people for the sake of it. That I didn't find. In good faith.
I personally disagree with it, but I never dress up for Halloween anymore anyway. You know, like I spend so much of the rest of the year in costume and in character. I really don't give a shit about the one night a year everybody wants to let their freak flag fly. I'm good. You know,
I don't give a crap about Halloween.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
do it.
So
No, we're boring.
Yeah, you know, I was at Comic-Con and nobody was there presenting. I mean, Hall H was empty for most of there was no Sunday scheduling for Hall H this year, you know, and it was very different. I've been to Comic-Con for years and years, and it was very, very different. The whole vibe was a lot more mellow, a lot quieter. It was still very crowded, still incredibly crowded, but the vibe was very different. And you didn't see the stars, you didn't see the studios out. There was no big chatter of big announcements or anything else. And it was, you know, a lot of people are like, oh my God, Comic-Con finally got to go back to the comic book fans. And, you know, it was like, wow, this is a completely different experience now.
I like that. I remember because last time we had you on, I think, was the week after Comic-Con. And we were kind of talking about how, well, for the first time in years, it's an actual Comic Con instead of a comics adaptation con. Yeah.
So my story real quick, and this is just to highlight the importance of, or the threat that AI presents to performers. Let me give you a solid real world example just to drive it home. You guys, I'm assuming you guys know video games. You guys know Fallout, right?
Of course.
Okay, one of the Fallout 4, one of the most modded video games ever. Like Fallout and Skyrim are two video games by Bethesda Software, and they have incredible modding communities who have put out whole, you know, homegrown full editions to the games that people can purchase and download, and it's amazing. Like I have a PlayStation 4. I don't play on my PC. But I have don't judge me too hard. I've got Starfield now, and I'm going to get into that on here, and it'll be really nice. But I'm getting through Baldur's Gate 3 first. But with Fallout 4, even on the PlayStation 4, they have an incredible modding community and additional resources and things like that. And people can, you know, add stuff to the games, and you can play it, and it's all homegrown content. Well, one of the big limitations of the mods is that, you know, the original game has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of original voice acting recorded.
Yeah.
And there are people who go out and get voice talent to voice to characters in their mods. But the main drawback is that no one has ever gotten the original voice actors to come back and voice the protagonists, whether it's, you know, Nate or Nora from Fallout, or for, you know, the I don't play Skyrim, but the main character is the Dragon Warrior, Dragon Rider. I can't remember what his
the Dragon, whoever you make them.
Yeah, whatever you make them. Your protagonist, your character is notably silent throughout any DLC, throughout some of the DLC, even some of the official DLC, but most of like all the third-party modules. Well, it was about February when I saw an article go out that there was a brand new DLC-sized community mod being added to Fallout 4. Brand new adventure campaign, all these new things, all these new assets. And for the first time ever, it was going to have original voice dialogue for your protagonist characters. AI generated. AI generated. They had AI come in and scrape all the existing audio, the hundreds and hundreds of character hours of character audio from the discs, and used all that to generate brand new voice tracks and voice dialogue, fully voiced dialogue that sounds just like the original game. That is a problem, because the original actor wasn't called in. They see no residual, they see no money, but it's their voice being taken and being used to use dialogue, or to record dialogue that they never read, that they never agreed to. And the thing is, with the community stuff, they could have them reading Mein Kampf for all or making hot takes on Palestine and Israel, or whatever else. You can have them doing all kinds of stuff that they don't consent to, but it's their voice. All right. And everybody was talking about like, oh my God, new lines for Nate and Nora. This is fantastic. I'm so excited about this. And I'm sitting here horrified. And I shared it with I was sitting on set for something, and I shared it with a couple of other actors I know, and they went pale. They looked at that and they went, fuck, we're redundant. You know, like once they have enough of our voice out there, we're redundant.
Voices is the easiest way. People can do it on their laptops and generally. There's a band over here.
The technology has gotten so good that community modders can do this now. And if community modders can do this now at a professional level, can you like the studios and other bigger corporations have had this for years. Actors are not puppets. That's correct. We are artists. And if we don't have control, the one asset that we have is our performance. And if we don't have control over our performance, like you're not going to see me do a nude scene. And it's not because I'm not comfortable being naked, but it's not my thing. I don't want to do that. I don't have the six pack. I'm fuzzy. I'm not that pleasant to look at, but I don't like the idea of somebody with a 3D scan of my body being able to put me naked into a scene,
Good point.
Yeah,
I have seen nude scenes in your theaters, and the people that have done full plays nude, they would very easily be able to have their entire body scanned and like.
Oh yeah. You guys know the band Oasis, don't you?
Yeah.
Obviously, big British band. There's like a tribute band over here, and they've been writing Oasis style songs.
Oh, I saw that.
Liam Gallagher's voice AI generated on it. And it was a big thing a couple of months ago because Noel Gallagher, heard it and said, "Oh, that's brilliant! I love that." And he goes, "Yeah, you love it until they release a song that sells 1 million copies."
Yep.
And then you're going to be going, "Well, it's my voice, and it's a very Oasis-y style song, but they don't have to pay them any copyright because it's not an Oasis song."
Yeah.
And they're not a big band. They've just done it on their laptop. They're not they're not signed on or anything. They've just done it. They did it because they're Oasis fans and they wanted some Oasis. They did it for a joke, but now it's like somebody's going to start making some real money on that. And then
there are rappers who have been saying the same thing, that their voices been sampled.
Ice Cube was saying that.
Yeah, where they're and I mean. We have once we put something out into the wild, we have so little protections over how it's used anyway. I mean, like the gifification of movie clips and the memeing and stuff like that. I think that's all become part of the internet culture. But the number of times I see someone become like an alt-right icon and they're like, I'm about as far from this as possible, but suddenly because I'm wearing a fedora and a thing, I'm now like the Chud hero or whatever. It's we have so little protections over how our work is interpreted and how it is used, but just straight up robbing us of our voice, of our sound, of our distinctions, of our likenesses, and using them without our permission on projects that we don't agree to. It's not just theft; it's assault. And the. I think Sean Penn put it best when people were like, "Hey, Sean, would you ever allow yourself to be 3D scanned and used into AI?" And he's like, "How about you ask your daughter that? Ask your daughter if she'd give her likeness over to be used for whatever people want and be put in the public library. Do you want to know what's going to come out of that? I mean, we've already got deepfake porno. Like it's like you're basically asking me to set myself up to be." Used and abused like this. Like think about what you're asking and think about the absolute worst image possible that you could find somebody in, and then imagine it's somebody that you actually give a shit about.
And you could put anybody on there that's had like a certain 1,000 hours of something anywhere. Like if you just have that amount of information on somebody or that amount of voice work, et cetera, it's just easy to do.
And these days we're opting into it too, because we've got all these fucking photo filter apps and so I fell for it. I did one of the first wave ones that came out. I was like, oh, let me upload a few pictures of myself, and oh my god, these things look so cool. I made one of my profile pictures for a minute. Yeah, the Lensa app, exactly. I did that, and now I'm like, well, shit, like god damn it, I'm in a database now, and
so just for the sake of devil's advocacy, in a video game perspective, like coming from a gaming perspective. The AI stuff sounds great because you get to go have conversations with these characters and they get to react as characters to you and you get to do all that. Yeah. But then from an acting perspective,
it doesn't have to be scripted as well.
Exactly.
The thing is that the game will react to you.
We're getting closer to a computer being able to run immersive Dungeons and Dragons at this point. We are getting closer to that. And there's a big nerdy part of me that wants that.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done ethically.
That's when is there a middle ground that can be ethical, that can allow like people to go talk to these AI like versions of characters that are great, but you still get residuals for that in a way?
I look at it like this. The only way that it makes sense to me, and look, I'm just some asshole who did a play with you a couple of years ago, Harris. I'm no expert in anything.
A damn good one, but
oh well, God bless you. Thank you so much. What would make sense to me is if people wanted to have their likenesses and voices made available. I think that it would be like almost like the Creative Commons or something like that, or the Wikimedia, where we can upload and we have licensed terms.
Yeah.
You can use my face and you can use my body in projects like this and this and this and this, but under these restrictions: no nudity, no porno, no whatever. And this is the rate to use that, like licensing music. Okay. And I think I feel like that we're getting to the point where that could be viable. But you could have union negotiated rates, you could have individually negotiated rates. I mean, to me, that feels like the direction it should be heading in, because the people should be paid, and they should be paid they should be paid to license their likeness and their voice. And they could do it together, they could do it separately. But we should also have terms on how we allow our likeness and our voices to be used. So to me, having the library and it costs this much to get, like an A-lister like Tom Hanks, it costs this much to get like someone who's maybe a B or a C-lister, like a pro wrestler, like someone who's known, like maybe a John Cena or a Chris Jericho, and it costs this much to get Greg before he blows up, but there's got to be, I mean, to me, that would make sense. I haven't thought about it beyond just like the initial blue sky. Yeah. So I'm sure there's flaws. I'm sure there's problems. But the other thing is that the technology is getting better and better, and you can track, it'll be easier to track this stuff. But I also am like, well, fuck you. Don't just use my scan and my voice. Hire me, I travel. I don't eat much. I will come and, I will come and perform for you, but I think the problem is that AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to get to be a bigger thing, and we can't stop it from happening. But this is why I agree with SAG in the sense that we need to get ahead of this now and make sure there needs to be protections, and there needs to be residuals, and there needs to be all this stuff negotiated up front, because we slept on streaming. And now, series regulars are getting checks for $37 for 90 days of streaming shows that they're leads in. Whole seasons, they're getting $37. It used to be tens of thousands of dollars that they'd get for that. $37. You're getting to the point now where TV stars have to take normal jobs outside of production season. And look, boo-hoo, oh my God, they got to get a real job. This is a craft. This is a skill set. It's a trade. Okay. Acting is hard fucking work. The industry is already hard enough as it is, but what actors have to do these days is hard, and there has to be respect for that. I think that a lot of people look at the top 1 or 2% of actors and go, oh my God, they spend, Ryan Reynolds spends $1 million a year to maintain his physical image, and like, a lot of top tier actors and performers are regarded as 1%ers, making tons and tons of money and just seem to be living the life of Riley. And I understand that, there's a certain amount of public enemy that comes with that. But most actors are 85% of the union can't make the minimum to qualify for health insurance. And that's 166,000 people in the union here. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands more actors that aren't in the union. And everybody's just out here with a dream, working their asses off, just trying to carve out a little bit of a career and offer what creative spirit that they have to the rest of the world, and it's, you get people who are idiots who are just seeking fame. Sure. You get people who are overpaid. Sure. Do they deserve the money that they get? At the top end, when you can write your own ticket, who's to say? But the unions here are to protect the people and who are breaking in and who are just trying to get in here because this is their calling. This is what they want to do with their lives. Laura, that's an excellent question. What happens when actors have been scanned early in their career when you can get them cheap and their fees go up because they're so talented? Well, I don't think talent. I mean, that's a great question. I feel like that the licensing and the residuals have to be marked up. And I think it's all got to be percentage based. So if I blow up as a performer, my rates for my AI likeness goes up. If my AI blows up, then I need to get a bigger piece of that pie. You know, if somebody meat puppets my image and my voice, then I need a bigger chunk of that. If they're making a ton of money off of it. And right now, so I think it's all got to be percentage and performance based. But
it gets more complicated than that, though, because what the next thing the studio will do is they will take Arnold Schwarzenegger and they will just change him just enough to legally get around. I mean, this is a big problem.
But this and that's one of the things that WGA was dealing with too was we don't want our stuff to be rewritten by AI. We don't want to be rewriting stuff that was generated by AI. And that was one of the protections that they had to be guaranteed that the studios could provide a non-AI source for everything that they present to people to come in for rewrites and stuff. So there's got to be protections for that, and that's why this is so crucial right now. This is why this is so important right now, is that we need to make sure that we're getting ahead of this, that the terms are clear, and that as the technology evolves, we allow for that evolution, but we don't leave the least protected among us behind again, like we did with streaming.
Yeah, I think the getting ahead of it is probably the biggest focal point right now, because the deal is up again in 3 years. So whatever's happening with AI right now and how quickly it's
everything is going to just be so much further in 3 years. 3 years is an eternity in technology.
So it's having to get ahead of it. And
that's one of the other problems, isn't it? Because apparently, again, talking to this guy, it says Netflix don't give a crap about in 3 years' time. If you guys go on strike again, they don't really care. But the studios really do. So the traditional studios, they're like, we do not want this to happen again in 3 years because we've got a stock price to worry about.
Oh, yeah.
We've got
product to put out.
To worry about. We cannot do this every 3 years. But Netflix, don't give a shit.
And that's the power of a union. But Netflix is, programming from around the globe, and they can provide it everywhere on their platform. That's why they're like, we got content for decades. But then when they say they got content for decades, all the good brand name shit is already exhausted. Now it's like, now we're feeding you, Squid Game, for real, 100%. And I weep no tears for the AMPTP having to come hat in hand to be like, all right, let's get a deal done here. You know what? These are the fuckers that are holding on to the to the live wire and clinching it as hard as they can with gritted teeth. They can let go of it at any time. They can cut a fair deal at any time. This has already cost them more than what paying us what we're asking for has. This has cost them in 3 months more than what the deal would cost over 3 years. So this is just obstinance. This is just refusing to empower labor. This is refusing to look weak in the face of labor, which is another reason why they're like, fuck it, we'll just do delay tactics. We'll hold out until the absolute last second, and then we'll cut a deal as quietly as possible and save as much face as we can. It's because they need to maintain the illusion of strength and try to discourage labor from wanting to strike again. Because they know that people don't want to be at risk of losing their houses or cars every 3 years. They don't want people going, worrying about going bankrupt or moving away every 3 years, and they're playing the COVID card. Well, who the hell got hurt worse by COVID than the little guys? I mean, my entire theater company either left the industry, left LA, or both over COVID. Okay. And I had an 80-person strong theater company that was going for over like 12, 13 years. And we've been dark mostly for the last 2 or 3 because pretty much everybody in the company at the time left. And I'm like, I don't have the energy to rebuild this thing by myself, So I'm looking for like-minded individuals.
The industry hasn't fully, you guys know better than me, but it's just to feel like theaters, etc., haven't fully recovered.
Oh my God, no! Theaters are fucked right now. That's a whole separate thing. And now I'm on the board of the equivalent of the AMPTP for a small theater in Los Angeles, except we're not evil. Okay. I'm on the board of directors for the Theater Producers of Southern California, and we're actually, yeah, I know. It's a beard. It's not a goatee. I'm not Mirror Universe, I promise. But man, it's a shitty beard. It really is more just like a Van Dyke at this point, practically with like a little fuzz on the sides. But you got the D'Artagnan going there, brother, and it looks good on you. You're rocking that shit. So yep. So small theater is completely fucked at the moment. Between COVID and then the passing of AB 5 here in California, which redefined what a independent contractor is versus what qualifies as a paid employee versus what qualifies as an independent contractor, that screwed everybody, because now anybody that works on a play is they're considered to be an employee now, which means you're paying at least minimum wage from the moment you're cast. For every hour in rehearsal and everything else. It has caused budgets for small productions to quadruple. I used to be able to produce a whole season of theater using volunteer actors, volunteer designers, and everything else. A whole season, like 4 to 6 shows for under $50,000. In LA now, it's over $100,000 to put up one show. Companies aren't announcing seasons anymore. They're announcing the next production and hoping that they make back enough that they can announce another production after that. Yeah. Now, the Producers League is working with a bunch of other organizations and working within the state to get, funding to help adjust, grants and reimbursements and stuff like that to try and help offset some of these incredible costs that have come through. But we're also in a space crisis here in Southern California. We're in a space crisis right now where I'd say 80% of LA's theater row is gone. Is empty now. The complex is gone. The blank is gone. It's pretty much now the Hudson and the Broadwater. So it's like 2 theater complexes left on Theater Row when it used to be 10. I'm losing my own theater next year because our lease is up, and real estate people are just going to flip it back and forth between each other for tax write-offs. Like the building's going to sit empty because they've already shown me what they're charging for it, and it's insane. No one's going to pay that. So we're small theater right now, and you thought I went on about SAG AFTRA. I could go all day about this because this is where I live. This is my bread and butter now.
They're taking your stuff. I'm still just pissed off they're taking Studio Stage after all the different places I've seen plays at. I mean, I might be a little biased, but Studio Stage.
I'm actually going to have to drop off here in a few minutes because I have a meeting at 1:00 with some folks who about a new space we're going to try and make a partnership with. So we're not taking this lying down, and we're also working on buying a space up here that we can convert into theaters. So, and my wife and I, we want to buy so we can build wealth, secure ourselves. We're not getting any younger. We want to make. I've been out here 20 years now, and you don't come out to Hollywood with a retirement and investment plan in place, and I'm like, shit, man, I'm 42. I don't have a retirement. So I should probably do something about that. So now we're looking at building wealth through real estate and property. And let me tell you right now, that market is cutthroat. Like, we've lost out on 3 different buildings that we put offers in on because somebody with a suitcase of money showed up because they want to level it and turn it into condos, So three separate buildings, but now we're not giving up. We're gonna, keep trying. We're gonna keep working. Will everybody move to Texas? I hate I don't like the desert that much. I don't like the heat down there, so probably not.
Desert's only West Texas. It's hot as hell everywhere, but desert's only West Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like Florida either, but I do like my sunny and 70 year round here. I mean, you joke that you come for the industry, you stay for the weather, and that's pretty true. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about Star Trek quickly before we.
Yeah, absolutely.
15 minutes as well, because I haven't eaten. I'm really hungry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've been rambling so damn long, guys. I appreciate y'all just giving me a soapbox here to expound on. So
good. It's been great. You can come back and talk about it literally any time. I mean,
hell yeah,
we do it every now.
Anytime you guys want me, I'm here. So
what was this Star Trek news you're gonna drop on us then? Because you mentioned before we started, you didn't tell me what it was though.
Oh yeah, so we were just talking about like everything going on with the strikes and everything, and I saw on because I track all the Star Trek projects because Star Trek is one of the properties that I want to work on. I think it's like the number one property I want to work on.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, the Section 31 movie has gone from pre-production to production on IMDb Pro. That was like so they're moving forward with it. And it looks like it's actually happening. What was jarring for me was that I was logging on to IMDb Pro the other day just to check I was looking somebody up, and I saw that it had gone from pre-production to filming, and I was like wait.
There's no interim agreement or anything.
There's no like
what?
did I miss an announcement about an interim agreement? Did Paramount fold? What the fuck, you know? But now they've corrected it and it's changed to in production. But to me,
they're building sets basically.
But they're not going to be doing that if they don't know that a deal is coming. Yeah. So I look at that as like hopefully a bellwether that something is going to change here soon. You know, like that something's going to give, and that people want to get back to work. We want to work. You know, we want to be doing this, but we want to be compensated fairly for it, and that's not too much to ask, and it's not unreasonable compared to what the dividends they pay out to their investors are. You know, or what these executive compensation packages are. You know, 2 years of David Zaslav's salary could pay for the WGA and SAG over 3. You know, like it's insane. Like what they pay one asshole over 2 years could cover 175,000 people's wages. That is an example of runaway compensation, you know, and that I could get on a whole rant about this, but you need to tie executive pay to you need to get it back into proportion. It was one thing when it was 10 times or 17 times what the lowest employee was. Now it's like 1,700% or something like it's something absurd, and this shit needs to get wrangled, you know. But
it's like I understand paying the CEOs, CFOs, presidents, whoever a buku amount of cash compared to your average Joe, maybe.
It should be profit related.
But it needs to be profit related, and if it's an unproven, I mean, Zaslav's proven with Discovery, and Warner Brothers Discovery might have merged and all that kind of stuff, but he hasn't shown that he has proven that he's capable of taking Warner Brothers where it was to bring it into the place where they want it to be. And that's when you get paid big bucks. Not yet, you know.
Yeah. And he's out here bemoaning like the lack of yachts at certain places and social clubs that he frequents. I'm like, go fuck yourself.
When you're not 16 billion in debt and going backwards, then pay them a decent amount of money. You know, and if somebody came in and completely turned Warner Brothers around, and after 5 years you go, you know what, we've gone from being, was it 6th or something, Warner Brothers at the moment, to 1st. Yeah, brilliant. His shares.
Give him his flowers. Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you want. Thank you. So, you know, but when they're not, like the Disney, like
the thing is Warner Brothers isn't just a joke; it's a fucking punchline at this point. You know, it's
been last out of in the last like 10 years, except for 1 year. Yeah, I think they've been last out. Of the top
their DCEU was completely fucked. I mean, they
from the get go.
Max is a punchline. You know, it's an example on. I mean, the only person who I've seen kill a brand more completely and successfully than Zaslav and HBO is Musk and Twitter. You know, that's like 101 on how to destroy all brand identity and goodwill. That, you know, because you're a fucking narcissist. You know, so
how do you? I mean, I still don't understand.
I don't know
the thing that we still don't know what to call. Everyone still calls it Twitter.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
But what I'm not calling it X. Piss off.
Yeah.
But yeah, DC. I mean, they started off okay. You know, a Man of Steel. I really like Batman versus Superman. Other than the say my name, bitch.
Yeah.
Bit. Other than that, I really liked it. And then they just went, fuck.
Yeah. Well, because they tried to replicate exactly the success that Marvel had and didn't realize that Marvel had been planning this for years, and there was tons and tons and tons of planning and everything. Like everything since Iron Man had been done by design. You know, I mean, they figured that out early enough that they were able to add the Nick Fury scene as the Stinger.
Yeah,
you know, like I think that got shot and added like days before it premiered, but they put 2 and 2 together and had the math going very quickly, and they were like, okay, this is how we're going to do this, and that's how the MCU was built. It was planned. Everybody else went reactionary. Universal, with their whole classic horror universe, lasted 1 movie. DC has just taken a shotgun approach, going, we have all these guys, let's do this, you know. And well, we've seen the results. Zack Snyder and Michael Bay, these guys are incredible visual artists, but whoever told them that they could direct, I disagree. I think that they are wonderful at putting together incredible visual imagery. I don't know how I feel about them as storytellers. It just doesn't work for me.
Michael Bay has absolutely no understanding of rhythm to a movie at all.
Oh yeah.
Your favorite thing is Michael Bay's editing, right?
Is it, that's what I mean. Is it stories? Blah, 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 blah. Boom, boom, boom. Blah, blah, blah. Like, no, have some freaking rhythm to it. I don't want to...
A sense of pacing, yeah.
What happened? Yeah, a sense of pacing, something. Build up, have the big event, and then go back down. Don't go like fucking every fight. It drives me crazy to watch Michael Bay movies. It really does. I hate them.
Well, I mean, Michael Bay movies are just explosion porn. I mean, and visually, they're stunning. The guy knows how to create an incredible visual image. I'm not going to take that away from him. I just don't like his style of storytelling and his direction. That's
like fight. Long, slow panning shot.
Yeah, the Transformer movies give me motion sickness. You know, like yeah. I'm like, oh, I can't with this shit. So, but
what about that Transformers ride? That'll give you motion sickness. And I'm kidding. The Simpsons one's the worst one because that you're just standing still.
Oh God, I got to get to Universal and check that. I still have to go see Super Mario World.
I haven't seen it either yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me know if you want to go.
Hey, I'm in.
All right.
I haven't been to Harry Potter World yet either. That's the two things I haven't been.
Oh my God, that's been like a decade, man.
I know. I've lived here for 4 years too. It's bad. I need to.
You haven't even been out there in Florida?
No. I haven't been to Universal Florida. I've only been to Walt Disney.
Oh wow. All right. Well, hey, maybe we'll talk to Chambers and Company and get a whole crew to go or something. You know,
hey, that'd be fun.
That'd be fun. That'd be a good time. All right.
Wait for the summer. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
Come on.
I hate to be like this, but I got to bolt because I got to get ready and I got to get down to K-Town for that meeting. But
good. We'll talk a little Stargate and then hop out of here.
Yeah. So I can stick around for probably about 10 more minutes. So.
Okay. Stargate wise, can we announce who we're talking to this weekend, Jamie, or no?
Jenny Stiven is going to be on the show on Saturday.
Yes.
So we're finally getting a proper MGM inside of this. She used to work on Stargate. She's as long as nothing goes wrong, because she does get busy, bless her. She'll be with us on Saturday to talk about it. So she is at the moment sniffing around as much as possible to find out what's going on.
Kind of great. And that day is also the anniversary. I think the 29th anniversary since Stargate the film came out.
I think it's tomorrow. That's the anniversary tomorrow.
I thought it was the 28th, huh?
I think it's the 26th.
Oh, okay. Well, it's this week.
But that might be the British date and the American date. I might be getting them wrong, but
that might be different. So Stargate is having its anniversary this week, one way or another. We get to talk to Jenny this weekend, which will be cool. But with Stargate, do you think it may be announced? Obviously, we like to talk about this as often as freaking possible, and we will continue to talk about it as often as freaking possible until they announce it. But with the strikes at their prospective closing or possible closing kind of coming up in the next couple of weeks, months, hopefully sooner than all that, do you think that gives credence to maybe Amazon can't announce we're doing this with these actors, but do you think they'll just get the announcement out like we've kind of talked about?
I think they'll just do a press release. I think there'll just be a press release at some point soon of them telling them what they're going to be doing in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, they've already been announcing the comebacks of certain projects and series renewals and stuff like that. Everybody knows that things are going to come back at one point. And I think that the more we see studios getting their ducks in a row, the more I think that we see the studios anticipating this ending soon. You know, and that's a great sign. But yeah, I think you'll hear something sooner than later. So
fingers crossed. And then we can get the filming update for Section 31, because I like me some Michelle Yeoh. Y'all might
she's incredible.
Might make me want to watch Star Trek just a little bit. Not a whole
the best of it was they were going to I released a video saying Paramount were willing to cancel, or were going to cancel Section 31, and I got roundly slapped.
Oh my God. I still want that show though. I mean, it's going to be like late era Deep Space Nine level dark, grim dark, but it's going to be dope.
I would have loved the series, but they were going to do a series, then they were going to do a mini series, and then she won the Oscar, and they went, "We can't afford her."
That's what they went.
The truth is, we can't afford it. Michelle Yeoh was like, "No, I really, really want to do it," and it wouldn't have happened if Michelle Yeoh wouldn't have said, "No, come on, let's do this. I really want to play this character again. I love it."
Yeah, Georgiou's a great character.
Desperately trying to find partners. They want a deal for they're going to do 2 movies a year, and apparently they're trying to find international deal to share it with somebody to get some of the costs back. And the other reason why they're straying on legacy is because they're trying to get Amazon to do a similar deal like they did with Picard. To get some of the money. But Amazon are playing hardball. They're saying, if we're going to do that, we want some more of the creative control. And apparently that's one of the things holding up legacy.
Yeah.
Because Paramount can't afford to have 4 or 5 Star Trek shows running at once. at $50 to $100 million per season.
And I mean, and they just handed off Prodigy to Netflix too. So they're but yeah,
they can't afford it. So we'll have to see what happens. The next generation, yeah.
the Stargate next generation, please.
I think that's what we're going to get. It is roughly what we're going to get on them.
Love it.
On the next generation.
I'm not opposed to it. Do you think they're going to go like straight up and bring us the Children of Everybody kind of deal or Jack's clone? I hope they don't do that. Part of me wouldn't 100% mind it, but it just also is like it's just too pigeonholed, shoehorned, like for the sake of it. I
think they've got enough sense to try to stay away from things that they've done in the past like that because they've not worked. And I think audiences are a little bit more sensible than that nowadays. That they don't need to try and trick us with things like that. But I'm hoping they don't anyway.
Yeah.
They'll throw through the old characters in. We'll see Sam Carter again, and we'll see Daniel Jackson again, I'm sure. And I'll throw a few of those in. But yeah, I don't think they'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like a new show, mate. Basically,
we're waiting for it. Come on.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Give me some sugar, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Sugar, honey, and iced tea. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Let's go.
All that being said, though, I think that kind of concludes today up. Hopefully, we get some more Stargate news soon. I thought Stargate Timekeepers was coming out this week. I don't know why. But that was going to be my segue into talking about like the video game strikes for SAG. But we ended up talking about that for a good bit. So
there's a big event tomorrow by Slithering Games that they're doing a big celebration of Stargate Thursday the 26th. And Amanda Tappin's going to be there and a bunch of other people. So that's why you think it's coming out this week, mate. It's because they're doing a big event. They're going to show a load more of the game and blah, blah, blah. So
that makes sense. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, anytime you want to come back on and talk anything, come on, brother. You're always welcome.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
We can get into the nitty gritty again soon with the with the SAG versus the gaming studios soon, and then.
Well, when the deal gets announced, I'll be happy to come back and break it down and talk about what it means for things and maybe what the timelines look like. And I would love to I'm not like pursuing video games, but I'm definitely not against acting in them. So I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on with strikes with the game or the strike authorization with the game studios. Now they authorized a strike with like 98.7% of members saying yes real quick, but we haven't gotten any pickets assignments and no strike has been called yet. So hopefully the video game industry is looking at what we're doing to Hollywood right now and going, fuck that. We don't want that again. Because we struck on them in 2016. They were getting picketed too. So hopefully this gets resolved without having to have a full-blown labor stoppage and we can get a fair contract there too. But it's a lot of the same concerns. AI in video games, dude, is a big deal. Like they got it. Fuck it. Pay me what you owe me. That's like what the motto is right now. Fuck you, pay me. So
you talked about getting scanned and stuff. At one point I got scanned. I got $400 for I think 3 hours, which I was like, hey, that's not too bad. I'll go do that. And I walked in.
But what rights did you sign away when you signed the contract for that paycheck?
It was one small little indie game. So I think it should be okay, but like I just don't know where else that correlates.
These days, I'd get a lawyer to look over that and be like, "What are my rights and whatever?"
Thankfully, that was like 2019, I think. So I think that's okay. But
maybe, but you gotta. But that's the thing is that these days you gotta look at what they mean in like what other uses that they put in there, because that's the thing is that they were having people sign stuff that said that we could use your likeness anywhere, anytime, anyhow, with no further compensation. And they're just, I mean, Disney in particular has just been building up a library of likenesses and voices. And it's like, that's
their model. That's why they're so keen to, that's why they're arguing AI so hard, because they've been spending a lot of money for a very long time with this long-term plan.
Harris, we're going to see your likeness as the bad guy in Cheech and Chong, the video game.
I'm ready.
But you're not going to see a dime for it. They might send you a dime bag as a token thing, but you're not going to, that's the thing is that you might not see a dime for it. So
they could pay me in weed if I could be a little.
You could be reasonable, but if we had a fair like database, that could be terms of use. It's like don't send me cash, just send me green. These are the acceptable strains. No stems, no sticks.
Perfect. I need this terpene profile here. Like this. If you want me to record the lines while I'm doing it too for later,
Yeah.
You got to give me this too, you know?
100%. Got to get the vote. You got to get the pipes ready. Yeah. So
got to get the rasp on right there, you know? The two-joint rasp. There we are.
Oof. All righty. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been great talking with y'all. Jay, definitely, I'll shoot you a message. I'd love to hook up with you at one point soon. And Harris, I'll see you around, buddy. And we'll talk more. And hopefully, I'll be back soon with some good news.
Yeah. And hell, maybe let's go to Nintendo Land in the meantime.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you, brother. Everyone was happy that you're here, which is great.
Thank you, Laura. My pleasure hanging out with y'all.
But yeah, the last thing I've got to say, just to put it out into the ether for the people that stay to the very end, put this in the comment section if you don't mind. Compromise is no one wins at the end of the day. It's compromise. So where do y'all see this compromise being? Because the WGA they kind of didn't get a compromise. They got what they wanted. Is SAG going to have to compromise somewhere in the middle and meet the studio in the middle, or is it going to be closer to the WGA? That's up for you to decide and ponder. Let us know.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
And while you're at it, like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And we are out of here, y'all.